Survivor 44, a season massively hyped by Jeff and production, premiered on March 1st, 2023, as 18 new players would begin this 4th season of New Era Survivor. The tribes immediately competed for Flint, which Soka would end up winning. Unfortunately, during the challenge, Bruce would injure his head, and while he was cleared to continue the challenge, he would be pulled there that night for further evaluation. But luckily, for those of you who are unaware, he will be coming back for Survivor 45.
You understand why we're doing this, right? We're gonna bring it home for you.
Yes.
Yes.
Bye, Bruce.
Bye, Bruce. Bye, Bruce.
Take care of yourself. We love you.
Since Ratu got second, they got to choose which task to choose for Savvy or Sweat, with Matthew and Brandon going with the Sweat option, to which they would complete. But the Brainiacs of Helen and Carson felt more comfortable with Savvy anyway, and also completed their task, earning the tribe Flint. In a new twist for the season, all 3 tribes found the birdcage idol. While Tika and Soka avoided it, Brandon publicly opened it on Ratu, revealing that he earned an idol, along with a fake idol. We then got the usual premiere summit, where Matt, Lauren, and Sarah were chosen. But instead of a prisoner's dilemma, the 3 simply had to deal with the luck of the draw. Matt got it worse, losing his vote at the next 2 tribals. Sarah would lose her vote for 1 tribal, but would earn the inheritance advantage after that tribal, while Lauren directly earned the bank of vote advantage, with her getting an extra vote if she made it past the tribal where she willingly didn't vote. Medical visits continued this episode, as Matthew almost got pulled after falling off a rock, and Brandon fell ill during the immunity challenge. Ratu's weakness from their big guys cost them immunity, sending them to the first tribal council of Survivor 44. During the challenge, Matthew got info from Claire that made him realize Lauren most likely lied about the advantage she got from the summit, and thus campaigned for her to be the boot. However, Maddie, who lost trust in Brandon after the idol cage situation, campaigned to the girls and Kane to take him out. At the wildest first tribal council in Survivor history, Jamie, Matthew, and Lauren didn't vote. Jamie didn't vote because apparently she was the target for the first couple of days, but she made it clear to everyone she was playing her shot in the dark, so the tribe didn't want to risk it and switched their targets. But for some reason, the edit didn't show us this, thus beginning Jamie's clown edit throughout the season. Matthew, who was playing both sides, didn't want to show his allegiance by voting, and Lauren decided to bank her vote now to get that extra vote right away. So with only Kane, Maddie, and Brandon voting, Kane indeed sided with Maddie to vote for Brandon, but after all the craziness, he decided to play his idol and sent his rival Maddie home with 1 single vote.
Second person voted out of Survivor 44 with 1 vote. Maddie. That's 1. That's all there is. Maddie, the tribe has spoken.
After Brandon found out that Kane was the other vote for him, this made him lose trust, and thus, Kane became the new target for Ratu. On the other tribes, we got the payoff to the birdcage idols, as Danny took Soka's idol and replaced it with a fake idol in the cage, while Kaylin secured Tika's idol, but didn't have time to replace it, leaving everyone on Tika to speculate who had its possession. After Tika lost the immunity challenge, Carolyn looked to be the target, as Carson, Helen, and Sarah formed the majority early on. However, Jam Jam went to work to save his ally, identifying Carson as a potential swing vote, targeting Helen, who they believe was the one that found the idol. In the end, with these question marks about Helen combined with the fact that Sarah couldn't vote, Carson decided to vote with Jam Jam and Carolyn, as the iconic Tika 3 officially came together for the first time, blindsiding Helen in a 3-1 vote.
Helen, the tribe has spoken.
After Helen's blindside, Carson told Sarah that he still wanted to work with her, but she knew she was now on the outs. On Ratu, Jamie found an idol, but in reality, this was a fake idol made by Matthew, and he was in fact the one to find Ratu's re-hidden idol. On Soka, Franny and Matt's showmance really started to take off, and the other 4 plotted against them, as obviously the Survivor showmance is extremely dangerous. But after Claire sat out for a 3rd straight time, Soka decided she was essentially useless to the tribe, and she became the target after they lost immunity. But Franny was actually the one to give Claire some life, and plotted a potential Josh blindside, as he was seen as untrustworthy to the Sokas. But in the end, Claire was just simply not worth saving, and after her shot in the dark failed, she was voted out unanimously.
Claire, the tribe has spoken.
Episode 4 now, one of the lamest pre-merge episodes ever. It started off well though, as Josh's delusional edit began, as he felt like he was playing in the middle, when in reality, he was next on the chopping block for Soka. Carolyn then also made an X shape in the idol cage, which Sarah believed was a clue to where the idol could be, and she would end up finding it in an X area. Unfortunately, this was all ploy by Carolyn, as the idol was in fact fake. At the reward challenge, Soka and Ratu won, but more importantly, Carson, Jamie, and Josh were chosen to go to a summit, where they were swapped into a different tribe, but would also get a free idol that was good until the merge. So basically, instead of a normal tribe swap that fans have been desperately hoping for, we got a China version of the swap, but those swap screw players would get a free idol, thus screwing over someone else. Seriously, Survivor, Why couldn't we have just had a normal swap? While Jamie and Josh were clear outsiders right away on their new tribes, Carson and Matthew bonded, even telling him about Jamie's idol, but not revealing that it was fake. At the immunity challenge, Tika lost, with Josh all but certain being the easy boot. However, not only did he have his idol, but after Carolyn got pissed off after Jam Jam planned to use her as a decoy vote, she plotted with Josh to take out Sarah. And at Tribal, Josh neglected Sarah and Jam Jam's votes, and Sarah didn't play her fake idol for some reason, an incredibly dumb move despite it not mattering, and in the end, became the 4th boot in a 2-0 vote.
5th person voted out of Survivor 44. Sarah, need to bring me your torch. Sarah, you try to spoke.
Tika was all over the place after the vote, as Carolyn was mad at Jam Jam for the decoy plan, but knew they still had to work with each other to take out Josh. However, Josh and Jam Jam would then bond after sharing their coming out stories, and after Tika once again lost immunity, they had even more of a chance to bond, as Carolyn was sent to the summit along with Danny and Brandon, where the two had a bromance and basically ghosted Carolyn, which made her want to target Josh even more to avoid an alpha alliance come the merge. And in the end, it seemed as if Carolyn and Jam Jam were able to reunite and take out the former Sokka and Josh, especially after he tried to scare them with an obviously fake idol. But lucky for Josh, Tribal Council would get cancelled, as after the immunity challenge, Matthew chose to quit due to the amount of pain he was in, taking the idol with him.
Alright, so you're curious why I'm here?
Yes.
Matthew is no longer in the game due to his shoulder. The pain became too much, he couldn't take it anymore. That means there is no Tribal Council.
But I'm sorry that he went home.
Episode 6 now, as the final 12 would come together on Ratu's beach, although this wasn't yet the merge, as of course they'd have to earn it through a team challenge, with a team of Brandon, Carolyn, Carson, Franny, Jamie, and Matt winning, guaranteeing themselves a spot on the jury. So with the other 6 on the chopping block, 3 names came up. The main one was Josh, as he wasn't trusted by the Sokkas, and Jam Jam and Carolyn had of course originally planned on voting for him the previous episode. However, since they weren't sure if he did indeed have an idol, there needed to be someone to split the votes on, with that being Kane. However, when fellow nerd Carson told Kane about this alarmed him, and campaigned that Jam Jam should be the split vote target. Josh also campaigned for Jam Jam as well, and in the end, the tribe did decide to split the votes on Jam Jam and Josh. But Josh was simply too untrustworthy by the majority of the players, and thus, he was sent home in a 7-3-1 vote, and with that, the final 11 officially merged.
Josh, the tribe has spoken.
Despite Liddy being split up in the 2 random teams the previous episode, we would get a similar concept this episode, instead of an actual freaking merge vote. The final 11 were split up in the 2 teams of 5, with those 10 players competing individually. The winner for each team would win immunity, and the person who outright lasted the longest would win immunity for their team. Brandon and Frankie won individual immunity, with Frankie winning her team and Carson tribal immunity, meaning that only Jam Jam, Matt, Lauren, and Jamie would be eligible for this first merge vote. Just brutal. The vote was pretty obvious, as it was between Jam Jam and Matt, since the other 3 were tied, being OG Ratu, with Matt being the target since Ratu saw the Sokkas more threatening than the Tikas. However, at the winning team's reward, Heidi found a control vote advantage, which meant she would decide the vote of someone at Tribal. But in the end, she decided to play it safe, and controlled Lauren's vote for Jam Jam. Matt also of course voted for Jam Jam, but in the end, the other 3 voted for Matt, and with no shot in the dark to play due to leaving his bag back at camp before the immunity challenge, he became the first member of the jury in a 3-2 vote, and ending Survivor's first showmance of the new era.
8th person voted out of Survivor 44 and the first member of our jury. Matt, need to bring me your torch? Matt, the tribe has spoken.
Franny was obviously devastated to lose Matt, but the Sokkas regrouped and put their target on Lauren, given she had an extra vote. Treemill instructed the final 10 to split into 5 pairs for the immunity challenge, with the 2 winning pairs then competing against each other for individual immunity. The pairs of Kane and Brandon, and Lauren and Danny won the team part of the challenge, with Lauren ironically outlasting Danny at the individual portion to win her first immunity. So with Lauren off the table, the Sokkas then switched their target to Brandon, the biggest physical threat out of the other Ratus on the table. The Ratus targeted Frankie, figuring she was the easy vote, leaving the Tikas in the middle. And the Tika 3 played this perfectly, as Carson and Jam Jam wanted to side with the Sokkas, but hid their allegiance by voting for Franny, since they knew Danny was going to play the idol for her. And this is exactly what happened, as Danny neglected the majority 6 votes on Franny, and the Sokkas plus Carolyn idled out Brandon in a 4-0 vote.
9th person voted out and the second member of our jury. Brandon, that's 3, that's enough. Need to bring me your torch. Brandon, tribe has spoken.
Episode 9 now, and there are 9 players left in the game, with 3 OG Tikas, Ratus, and Sokkas. However, since the Tikas played the previous round so perfectly, it was still a Ratu and Sokka war, with each side winning their Tikas votes. With the new idol out in the game after Danny played his at Tribal, Heidi would be the one to find it, At the immunity challenge, we had the annual rice negotiation of the new era, where if 4 players sat out, Jeff would give the tribe more rice. Kane, Carson, Lauren, and Heidi sat out, with Frankie ultimately winning her second immunity. The Rachis plan to split the votes with Tika on Danny and Heidi. They then passed their advantages around in fear of acknowledging power. Lauren gave her extra vote to Jamie, while Jamie gave her idol to Kane, still not realizing it was fake. While Franny noticed what the viewers were seeing, and that the Tikas were controlling the game, her campaigns fell on deaf ears of Danny, as he felt a Ratu had to go, putting their sights on Kane. In the end, the Tikas officially pledged their allegiance to Soka, blindsiding Kane in a 6-3-1 vote, becoming the second person this season to go home with a fake idol in their pocket, believing it was real.
Kane, the tribe has spoken.
Your race, you bitches.
After being left out of the vote, Jamie and Lauren knew they were in trouble and likely next on the chopping block. However, after Fernie once again won a challenge, this made her a threat in the eyes of Danny, and he plotted to turn on his ally that he literally played an idol for. Fernie chose the 3 moms of Heidi, Lauren, and Carolyn to join her, where she then pleaded for a female alliance. Back at camp, Jamie told everyone the truth, and that Kane left with her idol, but nobody believed her story. At the immunity challenge, Carson won, leaving Fernie on the chopping block as an all-around threat. However, the tribe wondered if they should take out Jamie instead, believing she still had the idol. Just before Tribal, Carolyn plotted with Frankie, Jamie, and Lauren to take out Heidi, believing she was playing a good low-key game. This left Carson and Jam Jam in the middle, as they wanted to target Franny, but also didn't want to break Carolyn's trust. In the end, nobody other than Franny went along with Carolyn's plan, as Carson and Jam Jam sided with the majority, sending the big-time threat of Franny to the jury in a 5-2-1 vote. On the bright side, at least she got to spend some time with Matt at Ponderosa.
Franny, the tribe has spoken.
After initially being upset with Jam Jam and Carson for leaving her out of the vote, as usual, Carolyn made up with them the next day. The other 4 non-Tika members knew they had to take out one of the 3 while they still had the numbers. However, one of those 3 went off the table, as Jam Jam won the last gaps challenge, earning his first immunity, so Danny then led the charge against Carson instead. However, Carolyn knew something was up, as she didn't buy the rumblings that it was still Ratu versus Soka. And at Tribal, she indeed finally played her idol on Carson, but she actually didn't need to, as Jamie and Lauren unbelievably sided with the Tikas to split the votes on Danny and Heidi, with the bigger threat Danny ultimately getting the majority, becoming the 5th member of the jury in a 3-2 vote.
12th person and the 5th member of our jury, Danny. Need to bring me your torch?
You snuffed my torch, Jeff? You snuffed my torch. Huh? You snuffed my torch. Stuff.
Danny, the tribe has spoken.
Love you, Danny.
Love you, Danny.
Yeah, you guys are awesome.
After the idol play, the final 6 all went looking for the rehidden idol, but came up empty. At the reward challenge, the team of Carson, Jam Jam, and Lauren won reward, where Lauren used this as an opportunity to campaign for Carolyn. However, back at camp, her ally Jamie conspired with Carolyn to flip on one of her Tika allies, but she immediately ratted her out to Carson when he returned. At the immunity challenge, Lauren, knowing she was on the chopping block, won her second individual immunity. The Tika 3 recruited Heidi once again to vote for Jamie, while Jamie and Lauren campaigned the Jam Jam and Carson to take out Carolyn. The 2 really debated this, especially Jam Jam, who was obviously super close to Carolyn. But in the end, as questionable of a decision as it was at the time, the Tika 3 held strong, Heidi wasted her idol, but voted alongside the Tikas to take out the supposed jury threat in Jamie in a 4-2 vote.
Jamie, the tribe has spoken.
It's the finale now of Survivor 44, with the Tika 3 clearly in control of this final 5 vote, but an idol could seriously spice things up, and it was indeed planted, but nobody was able to find it. After Carson won immunity, essentially everyone's name got thrown around, and it looked like we were in for a chaotic vote. However, when Tribal Council came, basically out of nowhere, Lauren gave up and got an emotional send-off despite being invisible all season, and thus became the 7th member of the jury in a 3-1-1 vote.
Oh.
Lauren, the tribe has spoken.
The final 4 will compete in the Classic Samotion Final Immunity Challenge, with the non-Tika Heidi winning her first and most important immunity, and knowing she needed to make a big move for her resume, she put herself in fire against Carson, who was shown to be the weakest at fire, and absolutely dominated, in fact setting a record for fastest fire making at just over 3 minutes, and thus, Carson's incredible 20-year-old gameplay came to an end, and arguably Survivor's greatest young player became the final member of the jury.
Heidi's flame is all over that rope and it's over! One of the fastest fires we've ever had. All right, Carson, it is time to grab your torch.
Okay.
Carson, the tribe has spoken.
Heidi, Jam Jam, and Kaylin now, a very strong final 3, would plead their case to the jury of 8. Honestly, none of them truly dominated this final tribal council, as Jam Jam and Kaylin were seen as relying on Carson, while Heidi really couldn't bring up much despite her decision to go to fire. But in the end, Jam Jam was simply viewed as the best overall player, winning Survivor 44 in a 7-1-0 vote over Heidi and Kaylin respectively.
The winner of Survivor 44, Jam Jam.
Thank you guys so much for watching this retrospective of Survivor 44. Let me know what you thought of this season in the comments below, and if you think it's the best season of the new era, be sure to hit that subscribe and like button, and check out my old school and blank minute videos as well. And until next time, have a good one, guys.